Okay, so imagine, right, you're with someone you love,
Yeah.
walking, hand in hand, through a park at night. Summer air is warm, stars are out, you feel safe, at peace. It's a scene I think we all recognize, right? A feeling we all cherish. But what if, in an instant, that tranquility was shattered
Yeah.
by an act
Yeah.
of unimaginable violence?
Yeah, it's a story that it really forces us to confront the darkest aspects of humanity, that kind of senseless violence that, can just erupt, even in seemingly safe spaces.
Exactly, and that's the story we're going to dive into today. The story of Sophie Lancaster and Robert Maltby, a young couple whose lives were forever changed one summer night. But it's also a story about the incredible resilience of the human spirit, about how a mother's grief transformed into a global movement for tolerance and acceptance. We're going to explore how Sophie's legacy lives on, inspiring countless individuals to challenge prejudice and embrace diversity. It's a deep dive into a heartbreaking case, but also a journey of hope and resilience. If you're looking for thought-provoking stories that make you think about the world around you, make sure you subscribe to the deep dive. Now, let's unpack this tragic event. It all began on August 11th, 2007. In Backup, England, Sophie Lancaster and Robert Maltby, a couple deeply in love, were walking home through Stubbley Park after an evening with friends. Sophie, with her vibrant, colorful hair and unique Gothic style, was a proud member of the goth subculture. Robert Daly, aspiring artist, was drawn to Sophie's individuality and creativity.
They were young, they were in love, and they were expressing themselves in a way that felt authentic to them. But tragically, that self-expression became the target of a brutal attack.
As they walked through the park, they encountered a group of 5 teenage boys. What started as verbal harassment quickly escalated into a horrific physical assault.
The boys, described by police as, quote, feral, unquote, kicked and stomped on Sophie and Robert as they lay helpless on the ground.
Wow.
Witnesses described the scene as something out of a nightmare, with the attackers showing a complete lack of restraint and empathy. It was a level of aggression that shocked even seasoned investigators.
I can't even begin to imagine the terror they must have felt in those moments. The aftermath of the attack was devastating. Robert sustained severe brain injuries, and Sophie, after 2 weeks in a coma, tragically passed away.
The severity of the attack, particularly the repeated blows to the head, highlights a chilling disregard for human life. It raises important questions about the factors that contribute to this kind of violence, especially among young people.
It's almost too horrible to comprehend that teenagers could be capable of such brutality in the face of unimaginable grief. Sophie's mother, Sylvia Lancaster, made an extraordinary decision. Instead of succumbing to despair, she channeled her grief into a powerful force for change.
This is where the story takes a remarkable turn. Instead of seeking revenge or focusing solely on the punishment of the attackers, Sylvia Lancaster chose to address the root causes of the violence, the prejudice and intolerance that fueled it.
Right. She founded the, quote, Sophie, unquote, organization, dedicating her life to stamping out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. She believed that education and understanding were the most powerful weapons against hate.
The organization's mission resonated deeply, particularly within alternative communities like the goth subculture, who often faced discrimination and misunderstanding. Sophie's story became a rallying cry for tolerance and acceptance.
The Sophie organization gained international support, with memorials held at music festivals, awareness campaigns launched in schools, and even a play written about Sophie's story. Sylvia's tireless efforts earned her an OBE, an honor bestowed by the Queen for outstanding achievements.
It's a testament to Sylvia Lancaster's unwavering commitment to creating a more just and compassionate world. She took a personal tragedy and turned it into a movement that has touched the lives of countless people.
Absolutely incredible. Now, let's shift our focus to the trial and the key players involved. Ryan Herbert, one of the attackers, initially denied any involvement, but eventually pleaded guilty after forensic evidence linked him directly to the murder.
Showingly silly. Recorded phone calls revealed Herbert boasting about the attack, demonstrating a disturbing lack of remorse. This raises complex questions about the criminal justice system, especially when dealing with young offenders. How do we balance the need for rehabilitation with the need for accountability and justice?
It's a tough question, with no easy answers. Another attacker, Brendan Harris, remained defiant throughout the trial, denying his involvement, despite overwhelming evidence. The prosecutor skillfully revealed Harris's history of violent behavior, including a previous attack in the same park where he stomped on another boy's head.
This previous incident for which Harris received only community service, highlights a potential failure to address and rehabilitate young offenders before their behavior escalates. It forces us to examine whether the justice system is adequately equipped to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the first place.
That's a crucial point. It's not just about punishing offenders. It's about understanding what leads them down this path and how we can intervene earlier. The other attackers received lesser sentences, with the judge acknowledging the difficulty, improving their direct involvement in Sophie's murder.
The varying sentences in this case underscore the complexities of the legal system, especially when dealing with group violence, where determining individual culpability can be challenging. This often leaves victims' families feeling that justice hasn't been fully served.
I can only imagine the frustration and anguish that must come with that sense of injustice. Throughout the trial and its aftermath, Robert Maltby largely remained out of the public eye, understandably focusing on his long and arduous recovery. He suffered from PTSD, memory loss, and the physical scars of the attack served as a constant reminder of the trauma he endured.
Robert's story is a reminder that the impact of violence extends far beyond the immediate physical injuries. The emotional and psychological scars can be just as debilitating, often requiring years of therapy and support to heal.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking to think about, what he's gone through and continues to go through. But amidst all this tragedy, there's a glimmer of hope. In a rare interview with The Guardian in 2017, Robert shared a powerful insight. He said, and I'm quoting here, she wasn't killed because she was goth. She was killed because some, a-holes killed her. Why can't we ask what it is about them that made them want to murder someone, not what it is about someone that made them be murdered?
Yeah, his words, they're a powerful challenge to us all. They force us to shift our focus from simply labeling the attackers to understanding the deeper societal and individual factors that contribute to such horrific acts of violence.
It's a perspective that really makes you think. It's not about excusing their actions, but about understanding the root causes of hatred and violence so we can work towards preventing them. And that's where Sophie's legacy truly shines.
Exactly. Sophie's story, while born out of tragedy, has become a catalyst for change. It's a story that resonates far beyond the borders of the UK, reminding us that intolerance can manifest anywhere, in any form.
And it's incredible to see how her legacy has been embraced by the very communities she was a part of, the goth, metal, and alternative subcultures. These groups, often misunderstood and marginalized themselves, have found a powerful voice in Sophie's story.
These communities have turned their grief into action, using Sophie's story to promote understanding and challenge stereotypes. It's a testament to the power of shared experience and the strength that can be found in unity.
It's truly inspiring to see how they've channeled their pain into something positive. Sophie's image has become iconic, appearing on murals, T-shirts, and even tattoos. It's a constant reminder of the need to stand up against hatred and embrace diversity.
Music festivals, often seen as spaces of freedom and self-expression, have become platforms for commemorating Sophie and promoting the message of tolerance, for example. The Bloodstock Open Air Festival, a major heavy metal event in the UK, has a stage dedicated to Sophie, featuring bands and speakers who advocate for inclusivity and understanding.
That's amazing. It's a powerful statement that even within subcultures, often stereotyped as aggressive or dark, there's a deep desire for acceptance and a willingness to challenge prejudice. And it's not just within those specific communities, is it? Sophie's story has touched people from all walks of life.
Absolutely. Her story has inspired countless individuals to challenge prejudice and embrace differences. Schools have incorporated her story into their curriculum, teaching students about the dangers of hate crimes and the importance of empathy and understanding. There's even a play called Black Roses, The Killing of Sophie Lancaster, which has toured the UK, raising awareness and sparking conversations about hate crime and its devastating consequences.
You mentioned the play.
Yeah.
Humanizes Sophie. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? I'm curious to know how the play goes beyond just recounting the facts of the case.
So the play delves into Sophie's personality, her dreams, her relationships. It allows the audience to see her as a vibrant young woman full of life, not just a victim of a horrific crime. This makes her death all the more tragic and emphasizes the devastating loss caused by hate.
It sounds incredibly powerful, and that's really the key, isn't it? Making these stories personal, relatable, so they truly resonate with people and inspire action. It's not enough to just condemn violence. We need to understand its root causes and actively work to create a more just and compassionate world.
I completely agree, and that's something Sylvia Lancaster emphasized. Throughout her advocacy work, She believed that education and understanding were the most powerful weapons against prejudice.
She saw firsthand the devastating consequences of ignorance and hate. Her dedication to creating a world where differences are celebrated rather than feared is truly remarkable.
Her message was one of hope, reminding us that even in the face of darkness, there is always the potential for light. And that message continues to resonate today. Long after her passing, the Sophie organization continues its work, partnering with schools, communities, and law enforcement agencies to raise awareness, promote tolerance, and advocate for policy changes that protect marginalized groups.
Can you give us some specific examples of the work the organization is doing? What kind of programs or initiatives have they implemented?
One of their most impactful initiatives is the Sophie's Legacy training program, delivered to police forces across the UK. This program helps officers understand the motivations behind hate crimes and equips them with the tools to effectively respond to and investigate such incidents.
So it's about going beyond simply reacting to hate crimes and working towards preventing them. That's a crucial step in creating a safer, more inclusive society.
Precisely. They also advocate for legislative changes that recognize the unique nature of hate crimes and ensure that they are prosecuted accordingly. They've been instrumental in lobbying for the inclusion of alternative subcultures within hate crime legislation, acknowledging that prejudice can target individuals based on their lifestyle and self-expression.
That's a significant achievement. For a long time, hate crime legislation, primarily focused on race, religion, sexual orientation, and disability, the inclusion of alternative subcultures, reflects a growing understanding that prejudice can manifest in many forms, and it shows that all victims deserve equal protection under the law.
Exactly. It's a recognition that anyone can be targeted for who they are, how they express themselves, or the community they belong to. And that's a powerful message.
Absolutely. The work of the Sophie organization has undoubtedly made a significant impact in raising awareness and prompting policy changes. But, as you said earlier, the fight against hate crime is far from over.
Yeah, it feels like a constant battle. It feels like for every step forward, there's a pushback. But I think it's important to acknowledge the progress that has been made while also recognizing that there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's right. We can't become complacent. Hate crimes continue to rise in many parts of the world, fueled by things like social media, political polarization, and economic anxieties. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions. It can feel overwhelming, like one person can't possibly make a difference, but I have to believe that's not true. So where do we even begin to address such a deeply rooted problem?
Right, it can feel daunting. But change starts with each of us. One of the most important things we can do is educate ourselves, learn about different forms of prejudice, the history of discrimination against various groups, and the systemic factors that contribute to inequality.
So much of it is about becoming aware of our own biases and challenging our own assumptions. It's about stepping outside of our comfort zones and engaging with people who are different from us.
Exactly. And there are so many resources available to help us do that. Books, documentaries, podcasts like this one. There's a wealth of information out there. Don't be afraid to have uncomfortable conversations with friends and family members. Challenge stereotypes and misinformation when you encounter them.
Right. It's about having those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And being willing to listen and learn from each other, even when we disagree.
Absolutely. Remember, education is an ongoing process. It's not about reaching a point where we know everything, but rather about constantly seeking new information, listening to different perspectives, and challenging our own assumptions.
Okay, so education is crucial. What else can we do? How can we translate that knowledge into action?
Another important step is to support organizations like the Sophie Foundation that are working on the ground to combat hate crimes and promote tolerance. You can volunteer your time, donate to their cause, or simply help spread awareness about their work.
Every little bit helps, right? Even just sharing information on social media or talking to friends and family about these issues can make a difference.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of your voice. Speak out against prejudice and discrimination when you see it, whether it's online or in person. Support victims of hate crimes and let them know they're not alone.
Right. It can be intimidating to speak up, especially when it feels like you're the only one. But it's important to remember that silence can be interpreted as acceptance.
Yeah, that's so true. Our voices, when combined, can create a powerful force for change. And remember, it's not just about grand gestures or sweeping policy changes. Everyday acts of kindness and empathy can go a long way in creating a more inclusive world.
Oh, that's a good point. What are some examples of those everyday actions? What can we do in our daily lives to promote tolerance and understanding?
Think about simple things. Smile at someone who looks different from you. Strike up a conversation with someone you wouldn't normally talk to. Challenge your own assumptions about people and groups you don't know much about.
It's about making a conscious effort to step outside of our own bubbles and connect with people from different backgrounds and experiences. Those small interactions can have a ripple effect.
They really can. Building a more tolerant society. It starts with each of us. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, celebrating our differences, and creating a world where everyone feels safe and respected.
It's a beautiful vision, and it's one that I think we can all strive towards. Sophie Lancaster's story is a tragic reminder of the consequences of hate, but it's also a powerful call to action. Her legacy lives on in the countless individuals who have been inspired to challenge prejudice and create a more just and compassionate world.
It's a legacy that we can all contribute to every single day by choosing kindness, embracing empathy, and standing up for what's right.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the story of Sophie Lancaster. We hope you'll continue to explore these important topics and join us in the ongoing fight for a more just and compassionate world. Remember, even small actions can make a difference.